Recorded Books and One Click Digital present The Griffin and the Dinosaur, How Adrienne Mayor Discovered a Fascinating Link Between Myth and Science, by Marc Aronson with Adrienne Mayor. Illustrated by Chris Muller. Narrated by Graham Rowat.
Chapter 1. Prairie Girl. Adrienne Mayor grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where the land stretches from one edge of the sky to another. Some people don't enjoy gazing at mile after mile of corn. They get nervous when the wind makes waves and swells in an ocean of tall grass. Not Adrienne. She loved to walk across the endless flat prairie, imagining what it was like for the first people who lived on the plains, and dreaming up stories about the animals, plants, rocks, and bugs around her. As Adrienne walked and looked and imagined, she was following in the footsteps of her great-grandfather, George Halleck Center. George was the kind of larger-than-life person you usually only read about in novels. He was born in 1855 in Ohio, and when he was 3 years old, his family went west in a covered wagon. They settled near St. Louis, where his father ran an amusement park. The famous lawman Wild Bill Hickok enjoyed visiting the park, and soon George was growing his hair as long as Wild Bill's. As a young man, he fell in love with Josephine Eubanks, who was part Native American. George taught Josie to read and write, and she taught him her family's traditional recipes, which he used to make patent medicines. Together they set off around the Midwest in a wagon, accompanied by Sioux dancers who performed to drum up customers. Adrienne's dad, John, had been brought up by George and Josephine, so there were endless family tales about his long-haired grandfather, and they came with proof. George was fascinated by the natural world, and he collected things. Fossil ferns from the coal mines of southern Illinois, where he had started working when he was just 9 years old. Arrowheads from plowed fields. A Gila monster he stuffed and preserved. Snapping turtles, butterflies, and creatures that had crawled along the earth millions of years ago. Adrienne's dad kept the collection. At night, each strange find brought on a story, and each story had the same lesson. George had no schooling, but made himself into a skilled naturalist. Anyone can become an expert. You just have to be patient, observant, and curious. As Adrienne walked, she loved the feeling of the vast sky above her, but her eyes were fixed on the ground. She was always looking for that one something special that would stand out in a day of happy wandering. She might find a flower that looked different.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?